What is going on, party people? It is I, Fumencho, back at it once again with another video. Today is a very different video than what I typically do. Today I am starting something called the Weekly Anime Update. Basically, I just talk about everything that I've watched anime-wise throughout the week. And yeah, without further ado, let's talk about some anime. So to begin this first episode, I'm only going to be tackling two anime series. This is kind of just to test the waters, you know? And I want to talk about two of my favorite shows so far this season. One of them, of course, being Mob Psycho 100. As you know, it's a show that I have covered on this channel. And also a series that I have yet to talk about, Rising of the Shield Hero. So first we're going to be talking about Mob Psycho 100. This week's episode of Mob Psycho was very good. Very, very good, to say the least. I think that there's just so much to love here. I mean, where do I even begin? I mean, just the beginning of the episode. I guess I should begin with the beginning of the episode. Just when we're opening up into that mansion, immediately, you know, you were just greeted with all of these cool-looking psychics, these cool-looking characters, and you think, I don't know, I heard going into this episode that it was going to be the beginning of the arc, but I did not know what that arc entailed. So entering this mansion, obviously the first thing that pops into my head is, oh, we're doing like a psychic exam. This is going to be like the tuning exams or the hunter exam. We have just this big room full of all these eclectic characters, and that's of course the first thing that pops in my head. But no, it's quite different and quite darker, to say the least. We are introduced to the most powerful villain that we have seen in Mob Psycho, and that is really cool. This dude is scary. He is a demon possessing this girl, and it's frightening. His voice is scary. Just when they're first entering the room and each person's kind of appraising her in this way, or appraising the spirit, like, what could this be? Some of the other psychics, one of the most legendary psychics of the 20th century, I believe that's what they title him in the episode, basically immediately confirms this person's not possessed. This father here, he's just a crack job. We don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I'm out of here. This isn't worth my time. And then Reigen is very, he's pretty in the mindset that, of course, this girl is possessed. Something is going on here. When he appraises her, he gives all of these different... He drops a lot of hints that are basically confirming of her being possessed by this evil spirit. Dimple has knowledge of this evil spirit. I didn't even begin with that part of the episode. When we first start, we see that there's this crazy powerful psychic that kind of just evaporates all of Dimple's friends, I guess. I'm not quite sure who those spirits are, but evaporates them. Dimple barely gets away just with a hair on him. And that's how we're introduced to this villain character, and I like that. I like how we're introduced with this villain basically just wiping the floor with everyone. We see all these psychics, and we are to assume that some of them are powerful, but it turns out Mob, of course, is the most powerful, but the other ones are kind of scrubby and kind of awful, and that really kind of dips into what the series kind of presented itself with, the question that the series presented with itself a few episodes back. It might have been last week or the week before, when Mob basically questions, if I go out of control, or if I were to do something bad, who is there to stop me? And I think that in this episode, we see that Mob is sort of shocked that there is a spirit that he is finding difficult to exercise, that he is finding difficult to fight. And that's really cool. And also, you know, seeing all of these scrub psychics get the floor just wiped out of them, seeing that happen, you realize that, oh, Mob was very right to make that question, to question himself there, because these psychics are awful. They do not know what they're doing. Or maybe they are great, and this spirit is just far beyond, and Mob is just far beyond them. Because even Reigen was kind of going toe-to-toe, in a way. Reigen he's brave. Reigen is not a coward. That's something that I've kind of realized throughout the series. Even last week's episode, when the people hire him to kind of evaporate this family of spirits that live in this old broken down shack, he's not like scared in a way. And throughout this entire series so far, he's the most interesting character, because I don't really know where he's going. I don't really know what he's doing in this series. And when Mob kind of questions things regarding this evil spirit that's possessing this girl, Reigen starts realizing that Mob is changing. Reigen is kind of us in this audience. He's very sympathetic towards Mob. He's always been sort of sympathetic, but he's always taking advantage of them. And I think that he's starting to see that maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe Mob eventually will realize that, hey, I'm being taken advantage. I'm getting low pay for mediocrity. And I really like that. I really like reigen, making that assumption there. The fight itself, again, seeing all of these psychics just get destroyed was really entertaining. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed that. It really just shows how OP this demon is, and it also just shows such promise in what Bones is doing with this series. I mean, Bones has been blowing us away since the very beginning of Mob Psycho, and of course, One Punch Man and My Hero Academia. They've always been at that level, but here it's just shown to us again that this is a studio not to underestimate. And not only just great animation, but also really, really good direction. The stuff with the manga panels really caught my eye. That's a scene that I actually went back to and watched a couple of times, because there's all these little things to kind of pay attention to, these little things that kind of stand out there. And it's just a beautiful scene. It really is. The fight itself, basically Mob gets out of his body somehow. I don't really know what's going on there. He's able to basically pull his soul out of his body. Dimple possesses his soul, kicks some ass as Mob himself, which is also really cool. And then Mob enters the body of this girl where the evil spirit resides, and it's quite frightening, to say the least. I don't think I've ever necessarily been scared in Mob Psycho, but this was scary. You see Mob going toe-to-toe with this villain, and you're like, okay, he's gonna wipe the floor. This is it. We're done. He's gonna beat him. But no, Mob loses kind of pitifully, to be honest with you. He gets his face smashed into the ground until he's dust. Nothing but dust. And that was kind of hard to watch. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was kind of on the edge of my seat, like, what is going to happen here? And then, of course, the end of the episode, or the very end, I should say, there's kind of, I wouldn't say an after-credit scene. I guess it is a preview for next episode, but it's kind of directed to be an after-credit scene. Again, Bones, my goodness, what are they doing? We see that Mob is starting his year of school as a non-psychic. I'm not quite sure. I'm just as confused as most people. Of course, people that read the manga obviously know what's going to happen here, but man, I gotta say, I wasn't expecting this from Mob Psycho 100. I think this season, Mob Psycho 100 2, Season 2, whatever you want to call it, has really kind of subverted my expectations. In terms of a lot of things, to be honest with you. Like, not just, of course, action. That's something that I expected, but the way that action is presented, that is what is unexpected. The story that has been shown so far, that is unexpected. Just the beginning, that first episode, I really have to give credit to Bones for that first episode, for telling the audience, hey, this might be something a little bit different. Are you prepared for that? And no. The answer is no, I'm not prepared for that, because this episode just further influenced me into thinking that no, this series is going in a direction that I have no clue. I have no clue what's going to happen. It kind of starts off strange in a way. It starts off showing some new themes, and then we start dipping into the more episodic things where it's like, okay, we're getting back into the swing of, the way Mob typically is. But then here I am, it's flipped upside down again. And next week's episode, I'm anxiously awaiting with, just twiddling my thumbs here. Like, please give me this episode. I need it in my life right now. All in all, Mob Psycho 100 has just shown more and more promise as the series goes on. This is going to be one of the best seasons, I think, of the entire year. I think that this show is just excellent. It truly is, and I'm as I mentioned, very excited for next week's episode. Next up, we're talking about The Rising of the Shield Hero Episode 4. Now, full disclosure here, I actually just binged the remaining 3 episodes. I watched the first episode when it first aired, but then I got kind of sidetracked and wasn't able to catch up. And I literally, just a while ago, I was laying in this bed watching it. And, I mean, that first episode blew my mind. I was thoroughly entertained by that first episode. And as the episodes went on, I mean, slowly but surely, this show is becoming something quite special. This episode in particular kind of puts the show in a weird position for me, though. Because I don't like it when there's weird things happening and we have no idea what's happening and we just have to wait for the show to explain that. It's not necessarily like a plot twist or anything, it's just something there's no explanation for it. We can't even come up with any assumptions, it's just there. Basically, in this episode, we see the shield hero himself, Naofumi, fight against the spear hero. There's this duel here, and basically he wants to win Raphtalia's honor back, because she's a slave, and he wants to free her, but he's confused about that and conflicted about that because the king and his princess, his daughter, is basically brainwashing the spear hero. That's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming that the spear hero is being brainwashed by the king himself, and that's kind of why he's kind of extra douchey, I guess is the word I should say, because the other heroes aren't near that level. They're like normal douchey, but the spear hero, he's a special case for sure, and it's thanks to the princess herself. Anyway, so they fight this duel, and I guess Naofumi kind of wins. He kind of kicks his ass, to be honest with you. It's a really cool fight, probably the best animation we've seen from the series so far. Just excellent, and he wins the fight, kind of, again, as I mentioned, but the princess, I think her name is Myrna, I apologize, the side characters are, again, she's awful, so I try not to remember her name, cheats and uses a spell to basically beat him, for the spear hero to beat him, and no one else sees that, and then he gets really upset. Raphtalia is freed from his control, like he was controlling her, and there's this weird thing that happens where there's kind of this inner monologue where basically he says, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to die. Screw this place. I've drawn the short stick since I first got here, and ever since then it's just been an absolute disaster. It has not been fun for me. It's been an uphill battle throughout my entire journey so far. And he kind of curses the shield, like, I wish this never happened to me. I'm not here, out of my own free will. Like, I was forced to do this, and I'm still just getting crapped on constantly. And then the shield kind of like starts flaming up and enters this weird mode where basically, the subtitle I think was like curse mode activated. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to kind of dissect it a little bit more. But basically, time was altered in some way. I'm not quite sure. Like, there was weird static and then time was altered because when she was freed, the curse was pulled out of her chest and she kind of walked off and said something that there were no subtitles for. It was like quiet or whatever, and Naofumi was kind of too angry, I guess, to notice what she was saying, and then she walks off and then he enters that monologue. After this monologue, after the curse mode is activated or whatever, she's not freed. She's still under his control. She slaps the spear hero and basically says, this is stupid. What are you guys doing? He is a hero. He saved those people in that village, blah, 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 blah. I'm here by my own free will. I'm not a slave. He's protected me and I've protected him. It's a relationship. We're friends and we're partners. And it's a really good speech. Raphtalia is a really good side character. I absolutely love her. And as soon as, the first episode ends with her being then, you're like, okay, we're getting into lollies. I should have known that this show wasn't going to be super original, but the way it's kind of done it, of course, there's I wouldn't say fan service, but there are some tropes in that form that are like, okay, you kind of roll your eyes at, but the way that her character's sort of been executed throughout the last 3 episodes that I watched is fantastic. It really is. I think that being able to care about a character as much as I care about Raphtalia, this soon, she was just introduced 2 episodes ago, and I'm already like really rooting for her and caring about her as a character. They kind of go into some like time skippy stuff where it's like, okay, we've been training for weeks now, and then you see that the relationship has kind of built throughout those weeks. But again, direction wise, it's just, you believe it. You believe that they have gone through that, and you believe that they've been through so much together, and it just works. It really does. Anyway, she confronts the shield hero Naofumi, and she talks to him and basically says, hey, everything's all right. It's okay. I'm here. I'm gonna protect you. You're gonna protect me. I am your sword. And he doesn't recall the alteration of time and thinks that she went off for a little while and then came back. I'm very confused, and I know a lot of people are as well. I mean, I'm sure that, again, manga readers, or I believe light novel readers, are going to be like, it's actually pretty obvious. It's just this right here, blah, 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 blah. They hinted, blah, blah, blah. For me, going into this episode, I am very confused. No, I wouldn't say in a bad way, though. I wouldn't say that, like, oh, this episode sucked because of that weird thing that happened. I'm still on board, because that was a great episode. It really was. Again, as I mentioned, great animation. That fight itself was so cool, the way he was utilizing his different tools and his shield powers when he trapped him in the barrier, when he was using the weird balloon skull things. I really love that those balloon things have kind of been reappearing throughout the series. I really like them. They're kind of charming. They remind me of like slimes from Monster Hunter in a way, and they just have that kind of classic RPG feel, and I think that it's a good way to kind of ground the series in that kind of world, And it's well done, as I mentioned. And again, the episode was just fantastic. It was a really good episode, and I can't help but still be on board because of everything that's happened. I can't help but, I'm not deterred by this weird sort of plot twist in a way. I think it's going to be something that's going to be reappearing throughout the series. We see in the opening that there is this sort of transformation or some kind of alteration to our hero. His eyes kind of change and there's these weird lines on his face, and we saw those lines there when he was, kneeling down and basically defeated. We saw that there were signs of that, and I'm guessing this is going to be an important part of the series. But what does this power mean? I think it's kind of dipping into what exactly is this world. I'm kind of falling into the line of like a ReZero, which is one of my favorite series of all time, that kind of hinted at the fact that they are in a real world. ReZero isn't a show that calls back to that the main character Subaru is from another world. They don't really call back to that very often. He never mentions that, I had parents in another world. He never says stuff like that. And whenever he does attempt to speak to Rem or speak to Amelia and say, hey, I'm from another world, his heart gets crushed by the White Witch and he basically dies. So kind of getting those vibes a little bit, just a little bit, like where there is some kind of, I think whatever this curse mode is has something to do with the fact that he is from another world, and it's an isekai, basically, that's kind of like the little salt and pepper that they add to the series, because, oh no, it's a fantasy, it doesn't really feel too much like an isekai, but again, what I have to credit the show of doing is having Naofumi actually call back to the real world. Him saying that I don't want to be here. I'm not here on my own free will. That kind of stuff like reminds us that, oh yeah, that's right. He's a normal dude. This episode started and he was just like a college student, I believe. He was like living with his mom or something. Like, I think that those callbacks really help and they really work. And I hope that it kind of, that keeps happening. I hope that we keep getting, alluded to the fact that there's something going on here. It's not just an isekai. There's going to be stakes later that involve both worlds, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But all in all, I am eating up Shield Hero. It is a very good series. Again, it's a series I haven't had the chance to talk about on this channel. And I really like it. I think it's fantastic, and I cannot wait for more and more episodes. I believe it's 2 core, which is really exciting. I can't wait to see what direction the series goes into. Next episode is I'm happy. I'm happy for Shield Hero because not only is it super, super popular and a lot of people love it, but because it's kind of, it feels like ReZero. In a world where there's no ReZero, a Shield Hero must rise. And rising, that Shield Hero is doing. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about these 2 anime episodes. I really enjoyed both of them. I think they're by far some of the best anime airing so far this season. But there's so many other series that I kind of want to talk about. So comment down below and give me your thoughts on these episodes, of course, the ones that I've talked about today, Mob Psycho and The Rising of the Shield Hero, but also what shows would you like to see kind of tackled on to the Anime Weekly Report, or the Weekly Anime I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided what the series is called, but let me know what other series you want me to talk about here. I'm very interested in Dororo. I watched the first episode, Dororo. I really, really liked the first episode, and I need to watch more. I kind of adored the first episode, to be honest with you. Promised Neverland is another series that a lot of people were talking about, and it'd be a series that I'm down for. Kaguya-sama is one of them. My goodness, there's a few other series that are really, really great that I think deserve to be talked about. So let me know another series that you're super interested in that I should get into and talk about here on this weekly show. This show is going to be airing every Saturday, hopefully, fingers crossed, every Saturday, and it's going to be a place where I talk about all things anime that have aired throughout the week. Thank you very, very much for watching. Hit the like button if this is cool, if I can do this. Obviously, it's a show that's going to need kind of reworking and retooling. It's not something that this isn't it. This is an evolutionary type of show. I'm going to be building it up and making it look better, making it sound better, and maybe just piecing things together. This is the beginning, and I hope it's something bigger in the future. But yeah, let me know if there's something I need to change. The structure, should I talk more about things, or should I not talk more, or should it be more speedy? Let me know in the comments below. Again, I appreciate all the support. Again, hit the like button. It helps me know that this is a good idea. And also, please be sure to subscribe for more weekly anime reports, all kinds of streams. I've been streaming Resident Evil 2. I kind of want to beat it. I'm beating it soon, so you could be there for that. And also other games as well. I plan on streaming other stuff after Resident Evil, of course. There's some good games coming out next month, so look forward to that stuff as well. Thank you very much for watching, and do I sound okay, by the way? This is a new mic. I spent like $130 on it, and this is the first video, this first time recording with it, and kind of curious. Let me know what you think of that as well. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.